Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're going to be playing more of the Seesaw seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which at the end of our turn, any even-powered card will get boosted by 1, and any odd-powered card will get damaged by 1. Today we're going to be playing a high-damage Skellige deck, so let's give it a look. So last time we played a Northern Realms deck that focused on keeping our own cards at even power to maximize the boost from Seesaw. This time around we're doing exactly the opposite. We're going to damage our opponents and try to get them on an odd amount of power as often as possible to maximize the damage to them. That means that we're going to be using the Onslaught leader ability, which allows us to deal 1 damage to an opposing unit every other turn. And in terms of our cards, we're using a lot of units that deal small, frequent amounts of damage to, again, maximize the number of units on the opposing side with an odd amount of power to maximize the damage they take from Seesaw, combined with a few units that either get boosted or healed whenever we deal damage. So I'll flip through the deck here to show you what we have. And although we are focusing primarily on dealing damage to our opponent, Dagur is our primary boosting engine. Generally, we're going to want to try to save him for round 3. Ideally, when we have last save so that he can't get destroyed or reset, because this is our card that is most vulnerable to having that happen to him. And Harald Houndsnout is surprisingly extremely effective in this seasonal event. The self-damaging is somewhat helpful, but for the most part, we're just spawning in those 3 Herald's Pals, which, because they have 1 strength, at the end of our turn, they will take 1 damage, get destroyed, and immediately deal 6 damage in total to our opponent, and that's oftentimes enough to get rid of every card on the opposing side because we have so much damage everywhere else. And Blueboy Lugos is actually a card that we are totally fine with taking that damage, and that will happen every other turn when he's on an odd amount of power, or using other cards like Herald or some others that we'll see later on in the deck to help damage him. And the Greatswords are the other cards somewhat like Dagur in that when we deal the damage, they will get healed. However, of course, they can't go any higher than 10 strength, unlike Dagur. Svalblod Priest would be another card that can deal that damage to Blueboy, but also worth noting, if it is damaging a card that has an even amount of strength, that card will get boosted by 1 at the end of our turn from Seesaw, then Svalblod Priest will deal 1 damage to it, keeping that card that it is damaging at the same amount of strength, meaning that Svalblod Priest can continue to damage it, and we don't need to worry about destroying that card. Then we start getting toward the end of the deck where we're looking at cards that we ideally don't have in our hand, although Brokvar Hunter is very useful for targeting units that have an even amount of power on the opposing side so that we can make sure they take damage from Seesaw at the end of their next turn. And Heymaey Protector has an easy source of boosting because our units are going to get damaged every other turn whenever they're on an odd number of power, so this is nice and simple to boost. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, the focus is absolutely on the damage, so that means it's hard for our opponents to shut this deck down. And then, of course, if we can protect him, we can boost Dagur to the moon. Now let's go test it out. Okay, so going against Nilfgaard here, and we'll go first. Okay, we have Oneiromancy, we have Dagur, we have Covenant of Steel, our Defender, and those are all cards we'd love to have for round 3 in particular. Add Sukrus to that list. As for what we want to do in round 1, though, probably the Greatswords, Gerd, Giant Boar, potentially. Let's maybe dump the Brokvar Hunter. Herkja does work well. Yeah, I think this will be good enough. So let's lead off with Herkja. And they're going to banish her with Heat Wave. Very aggressive. Okay, in that case, I say let's get down some Greatswords in anticipation of the damage we'll deal in the future. And they're going to lock it. But we do, of course, have another one. And this is starting to look like this is going to be a pretty heavy control Nilfgaard deck. I think we might still be okay against that, because we have enough base strength that shouldn't be too much of a problem. The exception being primarily Dagur. Yeah, because they're locking this as well. It really seems like they're going to lock, poison, destroy as many things as they possibly can. But let's use Oneiromancy here. And we can either go the slow damage route with Blueboy, or we can go the quick route with Herald. I'm thinking we actually go with Herald, given how few cards they have out there. We can't quite destroy everything in 1 turn, but we will be able to deal a lot of damage. I'm going to pass using our leader ability here because we're going to destroy, in all likelihood, Morkvarg Hunter, assuming one of those Herald's Palace hits him. And then that leaves Dagur, which is on an odd number, so we don't want to damage him. Okay, now they're going Notorious Vigo. Now, my guess is they're going to get some other form of block with this. Yes. And they're going to use that to lock Herald. I mean, it's not a huge deal because the primary reason why we played him was to get the Herald's Pals out there. His damage is not that important. So I think what we do here is we destroy absolutely everything on their side by playing Gerd in the melee row. And then this might be the last turn that we take in this round, so let's deliberately boost someone who's on an odd number here, which means it's going to be one of these two. Let's go with you to avoid Jurden's. And everyone's on 1 strength here, so they're all going to get destroyed, so the leader ability doesn't really matter. Let's save it just in case we happen to want to take our turn next go round. Okay, they are still playing here. Cantarella. What will they steal with it? Okay, well, fortunately, it's arguably our worst card. They'll hit the longsword, not that that does much. It does mean that they get Artorias Vigo boosted and save him from getting destroyed. So if we really wanted to play, I'd probably go with Svalblod Priest next to Harald, and then Harald would get boosted because he's on an even number before he gets damaged, so he'd just perpetually stay at 4 power, and Svalblod Priest would continue to get boosted as well. So that's a decent setup, but I think we have a large enough lead here that I'm not too concerned. Even if they try to do something like Jurden, it's not going to change much because this has a 10 base strength. Even a Geralt of Rivia to destroy one of our strongest cards I don't think is enough. Yeah, and so they give us the win here on even cards in round 1. Okay, and I'm wondering if we potentially go with the bleed in round 2 with, say, things like Svalblod Priest, Brokvar Hunter, and Heymaey Protector, and see if we can get them to get rid of their other control-centric cards, because we want to make sure that we can go Covenant of Steel, maybe combined with Sukrus just to keep that a little bit safer, and then Dagger in the melee row in round 3, because that is definitely our biggest setup. So let's give that a shot. Sticking with the little cards for now, probably starting with the Brokvar Hunter. Okay, they're going to lock it, which is fine. That's part of the reason why we're playing it in this round, is to get them to get rid of more of their lock. Granted, their entire deck is probably just about lock and only lock. But now we play Heymaey Protector next to it, because that way Heymaey Protector gets boosted when you take damage. We don't want to damage you because you're on an odd number, so we'll save our leader ability. Okay, now they're going to create a copy of Heymaey Protector. I mean, it's not bad. It actually can work for them as well. If you put it next to the Alba Armored Cavalry right now, will get boosted at the end of your turn. And using leader ability as well. Okay, interesting. So, good to get them to use that here in round 2 when we're planning on playing all of our best cards in round 3, saving them for that. Okay, so now we go Svalblod Priest here, and then we damage the Heymaey Protector. And our only objective here is to continue to force them to play additional cards. And they play Maral, which is, yes, absolutely one of their better removal cards. Poison would have been a big problem for our defender. So glad to get rid of that now. And at this stage, the only card that I would be willing to play would probably be Giant Boar. Everything else I want to make sure that we save for round 3. Is Giant Boar good enough that we could force them to play additional card? I think we can, just because after having won round 1, they need to stay in this, otherwise we'll win. So let's play you over here and base it off of you are boost, and that way Heymaey Protector will get boosted as you get damaged. So they will get rid of the Heymaey Protector, but they do need to play a card, that means. And Gaunter of Dim, another strong removal card. So I think in many ways we've achieved our biggest objective here. Get rid of some of their big removal cards, both Gaunter and Maral, and we did so with playing, for the most part, just 4, 5, 6 provision cost units. So we'll give them round 2 here, but that should mean that it should be a fair bit easier to pull off what we want to pull off in round 3. And oh man, we drew into Wild Boar of the Sea, Morkvarg, and Blueboy. That is pretty fantastic. I really don't think you can get much better than that, especially since we have Oneiromancy to get whatever other card we might want from our deck, so I think we leave it at this. And they're going to use their Oneiromancy. And they're just going to get down an engine. I'm not too concerned about their engines, because I think we can probably outboost them with Dagger. So what I'm deliberately going to do here is I'm going to try to delay Dagger. But let's go Oneiromancy into Matta, and I believe Matta will give us one of the Longships, because they're the only 5 provision cost cards here, if I'm not mistaken. That is precisely what we get. That's on an odd number, so we don't want to damage it with our leader ability. More Nausicaa Sergeants. Now let's get this Longship down here. And this one is on even strength, so now's a good time to hit it. Okay, and they're going to create a copy of the Longship, which, probably fine. Especially because that actually sets up Blueboy Lugos here. Okay, Alba Pikeman to deal some damage. Well, I mean, at this rate, you're potentially going to hit Blueboy, which you really don't want to do. But you did. And I know it's kind of early, but Wild Boar of the Sea is kind of calling my name right now, because that would destroy 3 out of their 4 units. And if we use our leader ability to damage you, then we can get you down to 1 strength and have you get destroyed at the end of their next turn. So as much as we would like for that to be a setup for Dagur, I think we might go that route here, because that's just too good to turn that down. So let's go for it. Not to mention, Blueboy will actually get damaged and take out their last unit as well. Okay, Alba Pikeman, again, they have a chance of just hitting Blueboy, which they really don't want to do. Okay, so Wild Boar of the Sea is going to get destroyed at the end of this turn. That's fine, it's already done its job. I think now what we do is we get down the Defender in effort to set up Dagur. Potentially next turn. Really? Wow. You have Runeright as well? Who knows? Okay, so if we were playing it safe here, we'd play Sukrus next to the Defender in order to keep the Defender a little bit safer. Not too concerned about that. I think at this stage, they're not going to have much, if any, removal remaining. So I think we get a little greedy here, especially because even if we do lose Dagur, I think we still have this. So let's go Dagur now. And then let's damage you to get you on an odd number. Does mean that Dagur will now be on an odd number and take damage at the end of this turn. And there is Runeright. Okay, so you did have the combo. And you'll get Cleaver, which is an interesting one, because I can't imagine you have any crimes. So not sure that does you any good. Other than the shakedown that you spawned, of course. And, well, Cleaver, it was nice knowing you. And Igni is strong, it will get rid of Dagur, so they did in fact have a form of removal. At the end of the day, don't think it's too much of a concern because we will absolutely still be in the lead here. So we could have deliberately waited to play Dagur on our last play, or use our setup for Dagur on our last play, because they wouldn't have had a way to respond to it, because we had last save. But at the end of the day, I knew we had a big enough lead that it wasn't going to make a difference. So we'll just throw down Sukrus for the sake of throwing down Sukrus, and damage, because they are not going to have any additional turns. So we might as well hit them, even though they're on an odd number here. And we'll take the win. Okay, so go against monsters here. And we'll go first. Okay, not really loving the Tear Through Axe-Wielders here. Nor am I loving Gutting Slash, so let's dump you guys. Brokvar Hunter's moderately better. On Craite Greatsword definitely does work. And another Brokvar Hunter, okay. So I do really like our round 1 hand here, because I think we've our best bronzes, which is hopefully enough to still win round 1, while we can hopefully save our best gold units for round 3. So let's go Longship first. And they're going potentially Thrive here. Now let's go with Herkja, and if we're lucky, we could deal 1 random damage to that Endriga Larva over there and take it out altogether. Tell you what, actually don't need to take that chance. Leader ability away, and down it goes. Okay, Caranthir, what are they going to make a copy of? One of their Thrive units, okay. Okay, and I think this is a decent time for us to actually play Herald here. I was originally planning that we'd go odd on the bronzes. We may still do that, but Herald will destroy nearly everything once we get all these Herald's pals to get destroyed at the end of our turn. And down goes 1, 2, 3 units. Okay, now Naglfar's crew get some frost out here. on our melee row, except that card gets destroyed immediately. So in this case, I think what we do here is let's get some of the Brokvar Hunters out there. They aren't that strong, but it gives us some proactive damage setup. Let's boost Herkja with our tactical advantage. That way she's on an even number. Don't need to be as concerned about her going down. And they pass. Wow. I mean, we did have a very convincing start to that round. So we'll take round 1 here. We'll be 1 card down, but we might even go for the 2-0 victory here. Okay, and well, we drew into Oneiromancy, Wild Boar of the Sea, and Giant Boar, which are all some pretty fantastic cards. So what if we say got rid of Brokvar Hunter here? Blueboy Lugos could work with the Svalblod Priest quite well. I'd just love for us to get a defender, so that way we can use Oneiromancy to get Dagur, and then we have more or less everything that we could possibly want in this round. The question then becomes, what do we swap out to get that? And maybe it even is Giant Boar? And it is Dagur. Okay, in that case, we can use Oneiromancy to get ourselves the defender. So yes, I think in that case, we absolutely go for the 2-0 victory here. Despite us being card down, we have just about the perfect hand. So let's Oneiromancy first, into Covenant of Steel. And I think we're going to want this in the melee row, because ultimately the objective is to block Dagur. Okay, Nagel Fair might give them something strong here. Imlerith. Does get boosted by a lot, but that's not that big of a problem here. I think we go Dagur just about immediately here. And let's damage you. He'll get Dagur on an odd number, which means he's going to take damage at the end of this turn here, but means that they will take damage at the end of their turn, so hopefully that balances out. Okay, Nagelfair's crew. Saw them use it recently. And this time... Oh, well played. Using their leader ability to move the defender. That is a good point. Their leader ability does allow them to move cards, so that is a strong counter. However, I think we can still make this work. If we go with Sukrus in the melee row, we can prevent Dagur from taking damage, which may be just enough to still keep this working. Okay, well, they're going to turn up the volume on the damage here with the Frost. In which case, I think what we do here is we play Blueboy, and at least at the moment, he is the highest unit in this melee row, which means he will be the one that takes the damage from this Frost, which is nice. And for that reason, I think we will actually avoid using Onslaught here, because we don't want to get Dagur boosted, then have him take the damage instead. Okay, Nithrall can deal damage, yes, although I'm not necessarily sure that they want to do that here. Okay, now they're going to move Dagur. Well, admittedly, they should have done that previously. Okay, so our best combo has been shut off here, but we do still have a decent combo to play. Namely, Svalblod Priest, damaging Blueboy. And now let's use our leader ability here to get one of their even strength units on an odd number. Let's try to do it to a unit that is not Thrive. So Nithrall. Okay, Fuka for more Thrive. They're going to try to take down Sukrus. It's not the end of the world because, of course, at the moment, Blueboy is not taking any damage next to Sukrus, but I was about to change that with an Craite Greatsword here. That means next to Sukrus it won't take any damage, which is very nice. And now suddenly Blueboy is taking damage and therefore is dealing damage as well. Okay, Aparian Phantom, decent engine. And because it will get boosted by 1 at the end of every turn, and it's an even number right now, that means that it would normally get boosted by 2 every turn, but they actually immediately play the order to get rid of Sukrus. Okay, and I'm considering another Craite Greatsword here, or we could pass and say enough is enough. Let's try the Greatsword, though, and let's go with damaging another one of their even-powered units. Okay, more of the Frost. Fortunately, our highest units are ones that heal when we deal damage, and I think that's going to be something that continues to happen because they're going to continue to have odd-numbered units, and we're going to continue to damage Blueboy. So I think now is the time when we pass, and in doing so, we are likely forcing them to play another card to catch up to us. We hope that's the case because otherwise we're going to be down a card in round 3. Okay, an on-L Conqueror is a 7-point play. There's something to be said for that. It will trigger some thrives. But it is enough for them to catch up to us just barely. Wow. But at the very least, we got back to even cards in round 3, because that was a risk we were taking when we played in round 2. Okay, so Matta would give us Morkvarg here, which I think is not a bad play. And of course, with Oneiromancy, we could get anything. And I think these are basically all of our best cards here, so I don't think we need to change anything right now. Let's stick with it. Oberon, what Wild Hunt unit will they get? They'll go for the boost, because of course they do have dominance. So I think we start off with the Craite Longship. Unfortunately, given how much we bled in round 2 and how short round 3 is here, Gerd is already weak, and we're going to pass on Onslaught here because they're on odd numbers. Okay, Wild Hunt Rider, again, they have dominance, so this does work well for them. Okay, so now it's Matta. That should give us Morkvarg. There he is, and now we have basically our best possible cards remaining. So let's damage their even strength unit with our leader ability. Wild Hunt Hound, they're just going all out dominance here, and at the moment, yeah, they do still have dominance. So Oberon is definitely going to be the target of Morkvarg. Other than that, though, if we can, we want to try to get as many damage units out there as possible in order to power up Wild Boar the Sea. And with that in mind, I am eyeing using Oneiromancy to actually get Brokvar Hunter, which normally would not be one of our stronger cards, but we play it here and deliberately get you down to a 3. That means you should take damage at the end of your next turn, and you will definitely be damaged when we play Wild Boar the Sea. Okay, they're going for more Frost. Okay, so now let's go Gerd in the melee row, and that'll be a way to sort of block the Craite Longship from getting destroyed by this Frost. And we don't actually have a great target for our Onslaught right now, because we are going to use Morkvarg on Oberon, so it doesn't really help us to hit him here. I think we'll deliberately save this for next turn. Okay, Wild Hunt Bruiser. Are they going to move maybe Brokvar Hunter? Is that ease row locked? Oh no! Okay, so ready? Here's what we do. We damage you to get you damaged from Brokvar Hunter. Then we use Onslaught to get you damaged with Wild Hunt Rider. Then we're going to go Wild Boar the Sea. We're going to leave Morkvarg for last. So we have a bunch of targets for this. So a lot of this is going to come down to what our last cards are. I like ours. Wild Hunt Bruiser, is that going to be enough? There's no Frost, so it doesn't deal any damage. So it all comes down to Morkvarg here. Do the numbers add up? We're about to find out. Yes, they absolutely do. So we take the win. Okay, so go against Skellige here. And they'll go first. And we have some nice cards here. Namely our Wild Boar the Sea plus Dagger plus Defender. And maybe even Sukrus to block that Defender. That is probably the combo we'd like to have for round 3, though. So I'm not sure we want to be playing all of our best cards in round 1. Let's see if we can get anything else, like, say, Craite Greatsword. Keep it relatively simple here. Well, Gutting Slash is going to say Gutting Slash. Okay, so I'm curious to see what kind of Skellige deck they're running with. Of course, they're using Battle Trance, which would suggest maybe Druids, Alchemy, Scenario, things of that sort. Let's go with Craite Longship first. And we're going to try to play primarily bronze units in round 1 if we can get away with that. Okay, now they're going to lock it. That was an Alchemy card. I know it doesn't look like an Alchemy card, but that does perhaps give us some indication of what we might see going forward. So now let's go with Plan B here, Herkja, which is, of course, a gold unit, yes. But the big thing is we want to try to save Dagger, Wild Boar, and probably Defender as well. Okay, yeah, Druids. They're already using their tactic. Are they going for a really quick round 1? Okay, and they're all on odd numbers here, which is important because that means that if we were to, say, play Craite Greatsword, then we can relatively quickly and easily get you boosted back up. With that in mind, let's actually deliberately forego using Onslaught here. Okay, Dandelion. What will they proceed to play after that, though? Spawn in a bunch of crows. And we do get a fairly sizable heal off of all the damage at the end of their turn. And again, given how many units they have in an odd number here, I think we probably Oneiromancy into perhaps our other Greatsword. And this time, let's use this to damage a unit that's on an even number. And we just hope that Herkja doesn't happen to randomly change an odd number back to an even, although that is a pretty decent probability that that will happen. Oh no, what a shot. Okay, more Druids. They are still playing. It did look for a second there like they were going to go for a super short round. Okay, and I think what we do here is let's go Brokvar Hunter, and then let's deliberately hit you in effort to get you down onto an odd number, and also just get some more Bloodthirsts out there, so that way, if we want to use Gutting Slash next turn, we can. Okay, oh, they are going to be able to get rid of Herkja. More Alchemy, as we expected they might have. Okay, and I think given how we are starting to look at gold cards that we'd like to save, this is probably going to be the last card that we want to play. So let's go with Onslaught on you. So we have Bloodthirst 2 active. Now let's hit, I suppose, you. You're the only unit that is more than 6 power right now. Now, unfortunately, we were on a bunch of odd numbers in our previous turn, which means we just got hurt a lot. But if we are to pass at the end of our next turn, that means we'll get boosted a lot. So, okay. They may have miscalculated here. In fact, they did. Because we pass right now and we take round 1, and that's part of the tricky thing of Seesaw is even if you pass, your score is not necessarily set in stone. Okay, so we're doing to round 2 Oneiromancy. Svalblod Priest, which at the moment we don't have a great target for, and then Matta. As things currently stand, Matta would, I believe, give us Morkvarg, because he's a 10, our highest unit in our deck right now. And given how we're on even cards here, I think we might as well just try to play this one out. Let's give it a shot. Okay, so I think what we'll do here is let's start off with the Defender, and we'll see what they do to said Defender, and if it gets purified or destroyed, then maybe we'll think twice about trying to play hard in round 2. Oh, interesting. Yeah, they do have, or did have, a lot of beasts in round 1. So now let's get Dagur out there. Basically doing it as soon as possible because there's going to be so much potential to deal damage and get boosted in the process. Okay, well, Delirium is a smart play here. We're hoping they don't get rid of Dagur, which it doesn't appear as though they will. It's close, though. Very close. Fortunately, they take a little bit of damage there, which means Dagur will get boosted by 1. Otherwise, Dagur would have gotten destroyed at the end of this turn right here. If we were really concerned about Dagur going down, we could play Sukrus next to him. I'm going to take that chance, though, and assume that that's not going to happen. Instead, what I'd like to do is use Oneiromancy to get Blueboy out here. Now, Blueboy does not yet have any way of us dealing damage to him. Of course, he will get damage every other turn from Seesaw, so there's that. But next turn, we'll be looking to get the Svalblod Priest down there. Okay, Ermion, so more Alchemy cards, which, depending on what they have here, could potentially be concerning. Now, they're just getting a bunch of rows out there. I was mostly worried about them trying to find a way to get rid of Dagur. And in fact, they forfeit. Didn't even get our entire combo set up there, but Dagur was enough to scare them off. Okay, so go against Northern Realms here. And they'll go first. Okay, and I think we probably want to get rid of Terror Crew Axe-Wielder here. Get Defender is very nice. Other than that, we have some really strong cards here. Dagur, Morkvarg, Boar the Sea, Sukrus, even Gerd. Matta can even get us our next highest card, which in this case would be Oneiromancy. And the only problem I have with this is just, this is probably our go-to setup here. So if we want to save this round 3, that'll be a little bit tough to pull that off, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, Curiosity Guard is very good if they can boost that up, which they can use their leader ability to do. That way it'll go up by 2 every turn. So I say what we do is we use the Brokvar Hunter to disrupt that, get you back on an odd number, and that does mean that, well, we're not going to use our leader ability there in that case. Probably could have gone with something else instead and just relied on leader ability for that purpose. That's largely what it's there for. Okay, Griffin Witcher. And using Tactic on it as well, which is very good if you can give it Veiled, yeah. Okay. Now, I do want to get Matta down there soon, because then we'll get Oneiromancy, and with that, we can get more of the cards that we want to play in round 1. But I would also like to get the Heymaey Protector down there, because this guy's about to take damage at the end of our turn, so you'll get boosted up. And both of their units are on an odd number here, so I don't think we're going to use our leader ability. Okay, now they're going to damage Heymaey Protector. They realize that was maybe a decent setup there. And Boiling Oil, wow, okay, that's fairly aggressive. But I suppose we had a decent setup, so all the more reason to get rid of it. Okay, so now let's go with Matta. And as expected, that gives us Oneiromancy, which is definitely a card that we'll want to play soon. But because they are on even power with all of their units here, let's do something about that. Now we'll use the leader ability, and we'll use Brokvar Hunter, get them both on odd numbers. Direct Frigate, okay, a decent engine, yeah. Okay, now it's a little later than I'd like to do this, but now that we have Oneiromancy, let's get Herkja down there. And we're going to hope that she ends up hitting the even strength cards. Of course, we don't have any control over that. Okay, Trident Infantry is very dangerous if they can boost it with something like a Temerian Drummer when it's on even power. Then it'll get boosted by 2 every turn, deal 2 damage every turn. But we have enough ways to disrupt that combo by making sure that it is not on an even number, that hopefully that shouldn't be too much of a threat. Now what I'd like to do is get the Craite Greatsword down there. And let's damage one of their even-powered units, most importantly, the City Guard. And other than that, let's also hit the Kirak Frigate. Hit that on an odd number 2. And of course, Herkja is going to hit someone and put them on an even number. And they're close to taking out the Brokvar Hunter. And there is the Temerian Drummer that we were expecting. Okay. Fortunately, Trident Infantry was not on an even number there, so it was not nearly as dangerous. And this may actually be the last card that we want to play in this round, because everything else we're going to want to save for round 3. So I'm thinking we go with Gerd in the range row here, because they have a lot of cards in that range row. That'll get Craite Greatsword up to full power, and we could even deliberately use Herkja's ability here if we are truly expecting this to be our last turn. We're going to see a lot of cards get destroyed in this row. I don't love that the Kirak City Guard is on an even number there, so I think we go for this in hopes of getting it onto an odd number. Great. We did end up destroying some cards that were probably going to get destroyed anyway, but that was important that we shut this off. Okay, and they're playing relatively small card here. I imagine they will probably still be in the lead at the end of their turn. So, could we catch up to them? Yes, but at what cost? We would have to sacrifice some of the cards that we very much want to save. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to pass, and we're going to hope that they don't try to bleed us in round 2. Because if we can get a dry pass and then have all of our biggest cards from round 3, then we should still be in good shape. So they'll pass, of course, and take round 1. Okay, so we got Oneiromancy round 2, but Gutting Slash and Brokvar Hunter, probably neither of which are cards that we really want here. Svalblod Priest could work if we could, say, use Oneiromancy to get ourselves Blueboy Lugos in round 3. Okay, and they do try to play here. They're going Black Rayla. So we do absolutely have the cards to compete here. It just... we were thinking of saving them for round 3, but if they want to go big in round 2, then we're capable of dealing with it. Just a matter of what we want to start with. I think we have a nifty combo here. Let's go Oneiromancy into Herald, because in doing so, we will spawn all of Herald's pals, and then, especially if we just hit Black Rayla here, all these will get destroyed at the end of our turn, and in doing so, they'll destroy Black Rayla. Okay, Geralt Quen. Let's see what they're trying to tutor into. I can't imagine they're happy with what we just did in our previous turn. Really, just a Griffin Witcher, okay. I was expecting some big bad Geralts, but then again, it's not really much you can do with a 5 strength Herald on our side. Okay, and I'm looking at which cards we might be most willing to sacrifice in round 2 here. And I think Sukrus is very powerful, yes, but I'm willing to do that in order to set up Svalblod Priest for our next turn. And they're going to lock Sukrus. I mean, it wasn't crucially important, so sure. Okay, and now we could even Heymaey Protector in between these two, because they will both get damaged at the end of our turn. And we don't really want to use our leader ability here, because everyone is on an odd number, and so we're just going to have them heal that back up at the end of their next turn, which doesn't do us any good. Okay, Egmont, they may even use that order immediately just to get rid of Harald. Curious to see if they will. They won't. Okay, now let's use Harald to damage Sukrus. Get him down to a 2. That way he'll heal at the end of our turn. Play this Svalblod Priest. And then with this, we can put somebody on an odd number. And so Sukrus should perpetually be at 2 strength here, while Svalblod Priest just continues to get higher. Okay, but now they're going to lock something else. This time the Priest. Okay, so now we're in more significant bleed territory where any card that we play would be one of the big cards that we want to save for a future round. But if I'm thinking about which ones are most disposable here, I guess the answer is probably the Defender. Let's get that down here. And then I think we deliberately damage the Svalblod Priest to get it on an odd number. That way, it will take damage, and that will further boost the Heymaey Protector. Okay, and a Stringer, if she can be inspired, would be quite good. And I think when she's on an even number, she technically gets boosted first by Seesaw. So yes, she does boost on either side of her. Okay, and they only have 1 card remaining at the moment. So I think all we need to do here is pass them with this card that we play right now. And we can hopefully dissuade them from playing that last card and save 2 of our biggest cards for round 3. If we are to do that, I think we probably save Dagur absolutely, and then maybe Wild Boar the Sea. So I'm eyeing Morkvarg on Griffin Witcher right now. Looks like that could be a solid play. So let's go for that. This was absolutely one of the cards that I wanted to save, yes. But I think we have to do this here. And let's damage, I suppose, Anna Stringer. And maybe even you. That will get rid of the Svalblod Priest, yes, but again, Heymaey Protector will get boosted further. Yeah, and so we did dissuade them from playing that last card. It means we will have card advantage in round 3 and 2 of our biggest cards remaining, so that is huge. So we fended off the bleed attempt in round 2. Okay, Gutting Slash, definitely not a card we want to have here. Blueboy was one of the cards I was thinking of putting along with the Svalblod Priest in the previous round. Now that we don't have the Svalblod Priest, a little less reliable. And then I'm not sure there are going to be enough units out there on a relatively short round for Giant Boar to be all that helpful. So this is maybe not a great option either. Let's prioritize getting rid of you first, though, because, yeah, we don't really want this either. Well, okay, we're back with Gutting Slash. So I think in that case, what we will do is we'll lead off with Blueboy, because on his first turn, he's going to be an even-numbered card. So he's not even going to get damaged or deal any damage in the process. Okay, now what are they getting with Oneiromancy? This will be telling. They're going to banish him. Okay, you know, I think that's fine. Much rather they do that to Blueboy than, say, Dagur. Problem now is that, well, especially after we got rid of our defender in the previous round, I think we do need to play Dagur here, and he's going to be very vulnerable. We're hoping that they just got rid of their last removal, especially since they had to Oneiromancy in order to get that Heat Wave. Hopefully that is the case, but we're about to find out. Okay, well, they can move him out of the melee row, which is concerning. Unless we can destroy that card. Which, oh man, we can't quite. We have our leader ability to deal 1 damage, and then we have Gutting Slash to deal 4. We're going to be 1 short. They will still be able to use that order on their next turn. But this is a powerful engine, so there's a chance that they don't use that order ability in order to maximize their own points rather than shutting us down. So I think what we do here is we use leader ability, and we do still use Gutting Slash, and we at least get this down to a 1, and we basically force them to decide. They're going to go with Immortals, which is very strong in this seasonal event. Now, do they use that order ability? They do not. Huge, especially because Seesaw takes effect before any other abilities, which means that card got destroyed before it could boost itself by 1. So now the interesting thing is we have Wild Boar of the Sea, which we actually can't really put to any use here because Immortals has a shield on, and then Giant Boar doesn't do much here either. So I think what we do here is we just play a relatively meaningless Giant Boar, doesn't matter which row, and then we save Wild Boar of the Sea for our last turn, and hope they happen to play cards that work with it. And they forfeit. Who knows what that last card was, but they figured they couldn't catch us. So there's a look at a fun, high-damage Skellige deck for the new Seesaw seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.